All right, ladies and gentlemen, happy Justice Week. We are finally at the doorstep of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, some of you may be wondering what this movie even is. Is it a sequel? Is it the same movie? We're going to explain all of that, what you can expect, and what this means not only for the DC universe, but for cinema moving forward, because this is an unprecedented event. So stay tuned. All right, guys, we are here to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, the unprecedented movie, something that we've been waiting for a long time. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. T. Sherry. What's going on?
Yo, we finally made it.
Oh my goodness, we did. Do you want to explain it? What's
Yeah. So I can't even believe that we're here talking about this. But yeah, so what this is, it's a release of the original movie, I guess, for the initial plans. But there's so much things that happen in the background, so many things that happened in the past. But coming up, we love comic book movies. We love comic books in general, but I think that you and I both we favor DC a little bit more. Um, just because of characters like Batman, Joker, Superman, stuff like that. We love them. And then when we started getting this universe that was being pretty much hosted up by Zack Snyder with Man of Steel, and then we had a Batman vs Superman movie, it was only right that we led into this Justice League. But through some unfortunate events, we weren't able to get his vision of this movie. So that was some time ago, but through a lot of tweets, a lot of movement behind the scenes, and a lot of chatter from the fans. This is a release of a movie that the director really wanted to drop. So
yeah, I mean, basically, pretty much what you said. Us being in comic books, like reading comic books and whatnot, obviously Marvel is awesome, and
mhm.
what they've done with their movies is, I mean, almost can't be touched, right? But when it comes to the comic books, with the characters and the storylines, I really felt, and we both agreed that DC was where it's at. Their comic books were just better, their stories were better, and whatnot. So when it came to these movies coming out, we were so excited for it. And then it's unfortunate that the Justice League that we saw in the theaters wasn't the Justice League that the original director Zack Snyder, who, if you're not familiar with, he did 300, which was a revolutionary movie at the time. Several others, look him up on IMDb. But yeah, we didn't get that vision from him for a few reasons, but through a lot of tweets, a lot of fans, and divine intervention, we are finally here for this movie. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to break that down on how we even got to this moment and what this means for everything. So let me go ahead. All right. Zack Snyder's Justice League, aka the Snyder Cut. We're here. We made it. Can't believe it. We got one day to go. Just one more time. How does it feel?
Dude, it's I can't even describe what I'm feeling. It's like something that you thought that we got we got the movie. We got Justice League a couple of years ago, and it was just like, oh, okay, this is awesome. There was a lot of moments that we loved in that movie, but it just didn't feel whole because we kind of knew in the background it wasn't what Zack Snyder wanted to put out. We knew that he had to step down, and now that he's coming back and re-releasing the movie that he loves, it's like having candy taken from you, and then you get a king size on the back end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. It's, I mean, what we got, was cool, and especially us being fans, right? We were
Mhm.
able to appreciate it for what it was, but I mean, we just knew that there was more,
Mhm.
right? And now, ironically, it feels like justice is served, right? There was a injustice and a disservice to the fans
Mhm.
originally, and now with this coming to life, for something that we heard first, that we were told that it wasn't even real, right?
Hmm.
This is a mythological movie, and then that it would never happen, right? So it was really the fans that made this possible. And so for everyone who doesn't know, we'll go ahead and break it down now. You know, this, like I said, it's the fans that created this, and really in this new social media age that we have, right? That allows everyone to kind of have a voice. So what I think really was the precedent that was set with fans being able to voice their opinions and kind of direct where the studio goes was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I remember that we were so hyped. We saw these announcements on Twitter that they were making a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, I got a little brother. I grew up being a fan of the video game. I'm gonna go check this out. And when they first dropped the trailer, I was like, even myself and I know fans across the world were just like, yo, what is that? We got the image on the left initially for the trailer. And we're like, I mean, you're already making up a comic book movie. Why try to make him look realistic? And I just thought that Sonic on the left looked terrible. And like I said, I think that fans around the world agreed with me. And so people voiced their opinion on Twitter. They started shooting out tweets, started tagging Sonic, the movie, and yeah, they were heard. So the creative team at Sonic pretty much made a statement and just said, "Yeah, you guys have been heard. We're taking it back to the drawing board, and we're pretty much gonna correct this. We're gonna make this right." And then yeah, they did just that. On the right hand side of is the outcome of what happened when fans started speaking up and voicing their opinion when there was still something to be done. And so we got the Sonic that you can see there on the right, where it's a lot more video game accurate. And I think that with that being said, the fact that this actually happened changed the game. So it kind of like allowed the studios, I mean, for better or for worse. I mean, you know, sometimes they might go overboard. Fans might got everything changed to their exact liking. And sometimes they can just do something like this, where it's just like, okay, it doesn't look good. We can go back and switch something up. You know, it's not gonna they're not gonna cater to everybody's needs, but still, the fact that they made a change based off of the response of that after that first trailer is major to me, at least. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was really was unprecedented, and I think it was pretty unanimous
Hmm.
as well, that everyone was like, I don't know what that is
Hmm.
on the left. I mean, I guess I would have still watched it, but it's like, why not make it look like Sonic?
Exactly.
So they did, they did it right. They had to wait a little bit, but it was the right call and the right move.
Hmm.
So, you know, moving forward, November 2017 was Justice League, the Justice League release date, and that was only 20 months after Batman versus Superman, which
Right.
is pretty quick, because if you look at the previous project was what, Man of Steel, and it was a
Yeah.
3 year gap, and then from there they went 20 months, and then you're going to make your team up movie,
Yeah.
and all we had seen from there was Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, right? So now we're introducing, three new characters as well on top of villains, all that kind of stuff. And I do feel like they kind of rushed the release date a bit,
Hmm.
but you got to think, if you're them, you're thinking, all right, well, we're kind of competing with Marvel a bit, and in 5 months from that time is Infinity War, which that was just, you know,
Marvel's big event. Exactly. Yeah.
groundbreaking, right?
So, yeah, yeah, I hear you. It's like DC almost felt like they had to play catch up to where Marvel was at, and they tried to do it in a 3 year span from Man of Steel. They introduced it with one movie with one character, and then now we're getting, like you said, a team up movie that's trying to be on the same event as Infinity War. Yeah, I feel you though. I feel like it did feel kind of rushed.
They felt kind of, but I mean, as fans, we weren't complaining.
No,
We
yeah,
were like,
no,
oh, we don't have to wait 5 years to get
yeah,
Justice League.
because
Psych.
we already know these stories, these character stories. We already know their origin stories. So it's just like, hey, once you get them on the screen, I'm good to go. I already know how Flash got his powers. I already know about Aquaman. Just let me see him already. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly. So, some stuff happened, right? And unlike the Sonic movie, they weren't willing to push back the release date.
mm-mm.
So, the unfortunate, tragic event that also kind of fueled this whole movement was the untimely death of Zack Snyder's adopted daughter, Autumn. Unfortunately, she took her own life. She was battling with depression, and that happened in the spring of 2017. So, looking back on it now, this whole Zack Snyder movement is in dedication to her.
Hmm.
Um, I think pretty much all the proceeds from the movie go to suicide prevention. Even half of all the money that was raised to even get this thing to production and in the whole deal was donated. So, at least that's a good cause. And I believe at the end of the movie it says for Autumn
Hmm.
as well. But that being said, it caused some emotional distress to Zack Snyder, and he ended up stepping down from the movie
Yeah.
in spring, early summer of 2017. So when we heard that, we were just shocked. Like, are they going to push back Justice League? What's going to happen? And then they ended up not doing it, right?
Mhm.
So this leads us into what's going on behind the scenes, right? At the time, we didn't know. We just thought, okay, Zack Snyder's dealing with a lot, and that was enough for us.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah,
didn't know about this kind of dispute going on behind the scenes, which makes him stepping down even more logical. There was a lot of dispute about the runtime. Zach is notorious for having movies that are a bit lengthy, but he wants to tell his story, and I think he does a great job at doing that. So when he initially pitched this, I guess to Warner Brothers, they were just like, "No, dude, we got to trim this down." Because anything over 3 hours, I guess they felt like, kind of scared viewers away.
even
So
at
that
three
was one of the
hours.
first things. Yeah, that was one of the first things. I guess that's all of the budget and all of the creative control that he wanted to put into this film. There was altercations about that as well. So I guess after the death of his daughter, it was just like enough. He was just like, you know what, man, this is just too much, and he took a step away from the project. And Warner Brothers, being Warner Brothers, they still are trying to meet this deadline. They're still trying to play catch up with Marvel. They didn't have any plans of changing that release date, and decided to take an action. And what do you think, Ray?
Yeah, so Zach came out and said that part of the disputes were about the runtime, right? He said, in the cinematographer said that they're like clipped up version, before they did any like real edits, was like 5 hours, right? So he was able to cut it down to 3 hour runtime, and the suits, as we call them, said no, like
Mm-hmm.
that can't happen. We want it to be 2 hours flat, and Zach said that's impossible. You know,
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman was 2 hours cut. The director's cut ultimate version was three, and
Mm-hmm.
that was just 2 to 3 characters, including the bad guys. And then now you want me to introduce three new characters, new bad guys, a whole new world,
Mm-hmm.
and you want it to be two? That's impossible.
Yeah.
And then they looked at his movie and they thought, okay, this is too dark, this is too violent, this is too, like, they were wanting to take the creative control, they were wanting to make alterations, and they were wanting to cut the time. And then that really was the big dispute where Zach was fighting them on it and behind the scenes that we didn't know about. And then with the untimely death of his daughter, he just lost the will to be able to continue that fight and said, hey, listen, I have the rest of it planned out. You can go ahead and have another director come in and finish up directing this on what I have. And there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you just said and what I just said too is that it looks like they were looking for that Marvel formula, right? They said, okay, this movie's a little too dark, it's a little too violent, right? We want it to be like a Marvel movie,
Mm-hmm.
because they're looking at how much money Marvel's over there making, and these guys are they're just looking at the data. They don't have that inside, their suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They trying to keep there's no separation between the two universes. Marvel is Disney, and it has that Disney flair that everybody loves. And I'm not knocking Marvel. I love the Marvel movies, but
Yeah,
there's a big difference from walking into the first Iron Man movie as opposed to walking in the Man of Steel. You know what I
yeah,
mean? The whole tone
definitely.
is completely different. So
They have their own place.
exactly. And so now it's they tried to sprinkle a little bit of that Disney flair, that Marvel flair into Justice League, once Zack Snyder sat down, and it just didn't fit right after he Zack Snyder came out with Man of Steel and
Batman versus Superman.
Batman for Superman, and set that tone, that dark tone,
Hmm.
for the universe, and then we get this with a team up, and then it's just like, okay, it just felt like it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah, definitely. The vibe was like a almost a full 180. So,
Mhm.
as we see here, Zach steps down. They brought in the Avengers director Joss Whedon. There was a lot of extra stuff, I guess, that went down that we found out about Joss being like verbally abusive on the set and not being a good person to work with and whatnot. But he came in, and that's where the suits, instead of saying, okay, we're just going to finish up your movie, they said, oh, this is our chance, right? We're going to throw a bunch more money in. We're going to have this guy change everything up. And he went in and did reshoots. And that's where the abusive behavior came in, was during those reshoots and whatnot. And he reshot a majority of the movie. He changed up a lot of things. He changed the music score.
Mhm.
And at the time, we didn't know. We thought, okay, this guy is still just going to come in and finish the movie. But
Just
no, he
gonna, yeah, finish up things, yeah.
really changed the whole movie, especially with the cuts. Right?
Mhm.
He had to change the whole bad guy, everything. Right? So then we get the Joss Whedon version, aka Justice League.
Mhm.
What did you think about the movie when it came out?
So when the movie first came out, I'm a diehard DC fan. I was ecstatic. I was just like, yo, we finally get to see. I think the catchphrase was "Unite the Seven." We're finally going to see the Justice League band together, and I was excited. We got to see Batfleck in action again with some of his toys. Got to see Cyborg. I feel like Cyborg was a sleeper character in the Justice League, so we got to see him. Um, but I felt like there were some parts that were just a little too, you know, Disney and too uppity, as opposed to just the Justice League. But overall, I was just like, okay, I thought it was all right. Overall as a film.
Yeah, I don't think it was terrible, right? But the thing is, I see where people thought it was terrible,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
especially like some of the things that I know that, like we said before, Zach has like a darker tone. There were some things that I felt like they threw in, like Batman making jokes, like stuff that they sprinkled in. I'm just like, that wasn't it stood out too much. I was like, that wasn't Zach.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
100%. So, there was a lot with it. It was one of those things where I saw it and there was really cool parts, especially as a fan, that were exciting. But for the most part, it kind of, once the dust settled on it, we kind of sat back and was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
it just wasn't what we knew it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's a few things that the movie lacked. A good villain, right? There was no dark side, as you can see in this picture. Obviously, that's Steppenwolf on the
Mm-hmm.
bottom. And Steppenwolf is like his right hand man, his like VP,
Yeah.
right? He kind of just does the work, but he's not the main bad guy. He's not the one with the motive.
Yeah. And it's like now that you brought it up, it's like he was the villain that they introduced, but we only got one fight scene between him and the Justice League. It wasn't really like he was their villain. They were just trying to play keep away for like the majority of the film until they had to square up at the end. We
Mm-hmm.
got to see him in action a little bit here and a little bit there, but it wasn't against the Justice League. So it felt like the movie was just like an internal conflict, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until the some parts that we did get to see the villain, and then it didn't live up to that expectation where we got to see a huge clash at the end where the heroes and the villains. It just kind of felt like toned down. You know?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there was that. Good CGI. I felt like the CGI was off, definitely, which we'll get into in a second
Mm-hmm.
specifically. Obviously, we've talked about they were trying to be Marvel, and some people described it as a Frankenstein film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even there was like the critics, which typically I don't like to listen to too much, because they think they know everything, but they know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They had this right where they said it kind of was like a Frankenstein film
Yeah,
where you could tell that there was like two different directors, two different ways they wanted to go with the movie,
I'm trying to piece
and
that
it was kind of
together.
pieced together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest things about this movie when we first get into it, and this was like the first scene at the top, was Mustache Gate. For these reshoots that Joss Whedon wanted to do, Henry Cavill, Superman, he was obligated and already in a contract to make, what was it, Ghost Protocol?
Yeah, Mission Impossible. Yep.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, so he had to have a mustache and like a slight stubble beard for that movie. So in order for him to do these reshoots, they had to go and digitally affect it. I know the bottom picture is a little blurry, but you could see little tiny dots all over the place where they went in, and they just did a terrible job.
Hmm.
I heard they spent like $25 million on the visual effects to CGI his mouth, and they still did a terrible job. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
look at that top right picture.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. It looks bad. And there was several times in the movie. I mean, when you want to see an epic movie like Justice League, you want to go in and immerse yourself into that movie,
Hmm.
right? I don't want to have my mind break the fourth wall and go, "What is that on his face?" Oh, well,
Yeah.
they had to do the reshoots with his mustache.
And they did that rip like as soon as the movie started. This is the introduction we get, so we're just like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
what's happening right
Hmm.
here, right? And then there was Steppenwolf, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah, like right there on the bottom is what we get at the end of Batman vs Superman, our first
yeah,
glimpse of Steppenwolf. And you look at him, he looks like an alien warrior. He looks like something that you don't want to mess with. And then we get Justice League, and then we get this guy in a suit of armor. You know what I mean? I think that the outfit itself is kind of just like
whack.
unintimidating. Yeah, it's whack. Yeah, stance whack. Everything is whack.
That belt buckle,
Yeah,
whack. The skirt, look at the skirt,
yeah. What
whack.
is he
Even a
gonna kill?
helmet, yeah. I know it's St. Patrick's Day, but
For
come on,
real?
man. Yeah, one of the biggest things I saw that I agreed with was somebody tweeted like there was times where Steppenwolf in the movie looked like a PS3 character.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, like I mean, if you see the top left, and then in hindsight, now that we see the Steppenwolf, the way it's done, I mean, it looks great,
Yeah,
right?
the image that we have on the bottom here, the one that we got at the end of Batman vs Superman, is I think exactly what the Zach had an image for Steppenwolf, and that's what we're gonna get now in this Snyder cut. Just something
Yeah,
that's a lot more
definitely.
accurate to that.
So something we've going back on it, talking about it was trying to be Marvel. Obviously, you can see the colors, the tone, and the big and comedic relief. If you look at this poster right
Yeah.
here, it's like popping out with the colors. It just looks friendly. You know,
Hmm.
um, but the comedic relief was kind of the biggest thing in the movie. It was like you couldn't have something serious happen for more than 3 seconds without somebody like cracking a joke,
Exactly.
right?
And
It's
like
like,
we see that a lot like in the Marvel movies, like even just to bring up a point at the end of the Avengers, when the Justice League, or excuse me, the Avengers beat the Chitauri army, and then Iron Man's making jokes like, "Oh yeah, let's go get some shawarma." It's just
yeah,
like like something devastating just happened, and you're cracking jokes. It's kind of like we got the same thing here in this Justice League. How it's just like any single time like something happened, it was like high tense, high energy. They were just like, "Oh, let's make them laugh. Let's throw in a little comic relief." Like, no, like let that settle. Let
yeah,
the
let that
audience,
emotion.
let the audience like digest that what just happened. Like, let it keep that magnitude. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Mhm.
like if somebody's like trying to explain or like have like a tense conversation, but they get too awkward and they have to like, LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
so, yeah, and then even you said like the colors here. So I think like when Zack Snyder dropped Man of Steel, the poster of that was Superman flying up, and all we see is just like we barely see Superman, but it's him. And then Batman versus Superman, we get them kind of facing off, but it's like a darker tone, where you don't see that much
it was
color.
at nighttime
Yeah, and
that
then
they
here
fought.
it's you got the whole spectrum of the rainbow here.
Yeah,
You got
literally.
reds, you got yellows, golds, and it's like, okay, we get it, but and it even looks like a Marvel poster. You know what I mean? Like all the heroes kind of just like together facing off. But
Yeah,
yeah,
when Alfred was like, "It's the team."
yeah,
That's what I think about every time.
yeah.
No, no, Bruce, it's the team. Right.
It's just
So after that movie came out, everyone had their opinions, whatnot. Um, we kind of got like once, like I said, the dust settled on it. We thought, man, you know, in previous Zack Snyder movies, he's had his director's cut, right? So Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition was 30 minutes longer. It ended up getting an R rating because they put in some of the like the blood and whatnot.
Hmm.
and it wasn't, and then maybe like a couple f bombs or something, you know.
Hmm.
But we got that true Zack Snyder version. So then that's where the fans kind of thought, hey, obviously we didn't even get Zack Snyder's original version. There has to be a director's cut to this. Is
Hmm.
there a director's cut, aka the Snyder cut? And that's where this hashtag was formed, the release the Snyder cut, right? And then when it
Hmm.
first came out, critics and haters said, "Oh yeah, that's never gonna happen.
It's not a
There's
thing.
there's no way." And I mean, we thought it too. We thought
Yeah.
there's literally no way ever that, I mean, because before that we weren't even. It would have to have gone to the theaters,
Yeah.
right? There was no like, oh, going straight to HBO Max or a streaming service like that. And for the studio to put the money forward to re-edit all of that, I mean, it doesn't seem like that much, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is like when this hashtag first started coming out, the only part of me that thought I was like, even if there is this cut, even if this thing does exist, it's got to be sitting on a shelf. It's not even complete. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way, like you said, they're gonna bring this out, give it the funding to put it back in the theaters, especially after we found out that there was kind of a conflict between Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder. So I'm just sitting there like, there's really no way, even if it is possible, in the slightest sliver of truth that this is capable, there's no way that this can happen. And what's crazy is, right, this is exactly how it happened. It was literally sitting on a shelf, and then this hashtag brought it right. And then who was the guy? The cinematography.
Yeah. So, boom, Fabian Wagner,
Yeah,
cinematographer.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah. He came
said
out and he
he
was
was
just
like the
like,
first person to speak out about it.
mhm,
Yeah, he said
exactly.
there is only about 30 minutes of original footage in the theatrical release, right? Because he was there on the front lines. He said, "Listen, I saw the movie, and there was people that like Zack Snyder didn't see the theatrical cut, the Justice League.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan, who Dark Knight trilogy, was an executive producer on this, and as well as Batman Superman. He went and saw the premiere with Zack Snyder's wife, and then he came out and told Zach, he said, "Listen, you can never see that movie.
Hmm. He
Like,
can't wait.
you've
Yeah,
already been through so much. We can't let you see what they did to your movie, right?"
yeah.
So, when he said this, that was the kind of the first glimpse of like, okay, wait. So there has to be, right? It was the first glimmer of hope, right? So then even the Steppenwolf actor said that wasn't the movie I filmed for,
Hmm.
right? I know that there's got to be a different cut.
Hmm.
So fans started petitioning. They got 180,000 signatures, almost 200,000 signatures, but that just wasn't enough. They reached out to the head of Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Said, "All right, yeah, don't even waste my time with that."
Yeah, and when this whole movement first started, I remember signing the petition,
Yep.
thinking like, well, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'm gonna sign a petition. I'm gonna get a few more extra emails following up, but what's the worst that's gonna happen? And that was back in when,
Mm,
2018, 2017.
2018, yeah,
Yeah,
2000, because it came out in November 2017, so
yeah,
had to be 2018.
2018. I was like, let me do my part, and I mean, that's pretty much the only thing that anybody could do is just sign a petition, voice their opinion, and that's it.
Yeah, and tweet the hashtag or whatever,
Mhm.
right? So then finally, we have the confirmation from Zach himself in March of 2019. So basically, a year and some change, right? That this kind of like mythical Snyder cut, is it real? Does it even exist? And that's what he posted in this picture on the right. It says,
There it
"Is
is.
it real? Does it exist? Of course it does." And just like you said, it was sitting on the shelf.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Collective.
footage is there.
Yep.
So then the army forms, and I put army, which is like like this is what ignited the fans,
Hmm.
right? There was people already wanting to see it. A lot more diehard fans were saying it, but it was almost like a cult that
Yeah.
was created of, oh, we have to release a Snyder cut. So it really took off.
Yeah. Because the fabled film actually existed.
Exactly, exactly. It's not a myth anymore. So then, summer of 2019, a few months later, that's where we really saw massive ad pushes from
Yeah.
the army, from this cult, right? We saw billboards. They had like planes, like the ones you see at the beach with
Yeah. The banner.
the
Yep.
banner in the background. And then even in Times Square, they took out ad space saying hashtag release the Snyder cut. And then ads that said, "I have a cut, it's done," for Zach. And then San Diego and New York Comic Cons, they even had whole sections devoted to the Snyder Cut. And then, I mean, that's really where you want to put it, is
Yeah.
to get the fans behind, because that's the collection of the diehard fans. So this army is a select few people that really started the traction, getting it going, getting that funding going, because it did take a lot of money. Like we
Hmm.
mentioned before, they donated half of it to the suicide prevention, which is awesome. But yeah, that really, really got this thing moving, right?
Yeah.
And then once we started hearing some big news on it, was the 2-year release anniversary. So this is November of 2019, right? Not too long ago, really.
Yeah.
We started seeing the support from a majority of the film's cast. So you
Justice League
saw,
himself even
yeah,
won.
the league, right?
Yeah.
The team. So Batman tweeted it, Gal tweeted it. I remember Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, like a
Mhm.
bunch of these guys, a couple other people.
And to touch
Um,
on that real quick, I guess Jason Momoa has been a huge advocate for this for the longest time.
mhm.
And I think him and Ray Fisher, I think were the first two of the league to actually come out and just be like, yeah, we support Zach. We want the Snyder cut too. And then everything started trickling in. But like you said, yeah, this is once we started seeing support from the cast, I felt like the movement jumped into another stratosphere.
Yeah, because this is where we started seeing actual stories on it develop. Before it was just brushed off and it was like, "Oh, what is the Snyder cut?" And it was, you know, that is what it is, right? But then we started seeing like IGN making videos, Looper making videos about somebody describing like, "Okay, what is this Snyder cut? Zach says it's done. Zach says that he could do it. What would it even take? How would they even release it?" I remember one of them, I think it was IGN or somebody, right? Came out and they said, well, HBO Max is going to be a platform releasing early 2021 or 2020 or something like that, right? And they said they mentioned specifically like what better way than to launch that than have this release straight there.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they kind of hit it right on the head with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Early 2020, Zach meets with the executives. They want him to re release the project as is, right? Because he said, yeah, I finished the editing of it, right? But I need to, there needs to be a lot more done to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, no, we have to do the film with the visual effects or nothing. The
Yeah.
fans, this film is for the fans.
Yeah. He was just like, if
So
I'm gonna push this out, I'm pushing this out the way that it needs to be, the way that the fans deserve it.
yeah,
No
great
expense.
man.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then, boom, May 2020, Zack Snyder's Justice League officially announced. And I remember when they announced it, I was like mind
Yeah.
blown. I couldn't believe what they really did it, right?
Yeah.
So it
And
was
then
with,
what better way to roll it out than like you said, HBO launching a platform, a streaming platform, and they had just made like an acquisition for DC to like film like stream their films. So
Mhm.
then it was like perfect icing on the cake. Let's drop Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. And like you said, like right here, we see that the announcement was made May 2020, and he got right to it, man.
Yeah, so this was with Warner Media, which I guess is a parent company
Mhm.
of Warner Bros. So it's still the suits, but I guess they're different suits, right? So I guess these suits are a little bit smarter than these other guys
Mhm.
and said, okay, look at how much traction this has gotten, right? What is it to throw a couple million into a movie, right? Because this movie, they said it was about $70 million with the visual effects and the reshoots to be able to create this, and with like the advertising and marketing, right? So what's $70 million compared to what they use on making another movie that goes straight to streaming?
Exactly.
And with this having so much hype behind it, somebody was smart and said, yeah, guys, I think we need to release this. It's got Superman,
Yeah.
right? So, and Batman. You kidding
it's
me?
got it's got that's the crazy thing. It's got all these crazy characters, and we are in like a crazy time in the world where movie theaters aren't like a thing right now.
Yeah.
So it's like things
So
are
it's a
going straight to
perfect time.
platforms. So what way to like to release the big one? You know what I mean? Because we've seen Disney drop other movies like Mulan and we've seen Wonder Woman. HBO Max dropped Wonder Woman as well. But I feel like the big thing that has dropped since we've kind of all converted to streaming has been like Marvel's movies or Marvel's TV shows.
TV shows.
It
Yeah,
hasn't been, yeah, there hasn't been like a big movie where it's just like, yo, it, this you have to see this movie, you have to buy this platform to stream this ASAP because ever since things has switched over, people don't really talk about movies like that anymore.
I would say Wonder Woman's probably been the biggest one,
Yeah, thus
right?
far,
I
yeah.
mean, Mulan was like the first one, but you still had to pay for the premiere access, which I
Hmm.
get it. But yeah, Wonder Woman, they were like, all right, we're gonna do a theater release and we're gonna do HBO Max release
Hmm.
also. And I mean, what better way? And you got to think too, if I'm them, I mean, Aquaman made $1 billion
Hmm.
by himself. So you got Wonder Woman, who just came off of her movie. We got Batman, who's Batman, Superman, who's Superman, and
Hmm.
then Aquaman, who before all of this was probably the lamest character.
Yeah, and look what Zach did to him.
I know, exactly. So from there, it receives an official release date of March 18th, 2021, which at the time of filming is tomorrow. Can't wait. One more sleep.
Hmm. One more slumber, and we wake up to this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, we had some questions going into it about like, all right, what are they going to change about it? So we've had a few trailers that have been released, and we could see from there that there has been major changes just based off of these trailers and the advertisements and the marketing, right? The biggest thing, the first little glimpse that you see in the first trailer is Darkseid.
Yeah. Which is thinking back, referring back to what we talked about before with the initial Justice League when he released it, that we really didn't get that big villain. We really didn't. It didn't feel like there was that big villain.
Hmm.
First trailer we get of this Snyder cut, we see he is coming.
Yeah, the bell has been rung.
Yeah, he is coming.
Exactly. So we
He
know
is going to
Darkseid's
come.
in it. We've seen him. He looks badass. He looks legit.
Hmm.
And then we also see Black Suit Superman, which I guess was another dispute that Zach had with the suits. Was that in the comic books, back when Superman was killed by Doomsday, when he came back to life, he came back with the black suit, right? So it's comic book accurate that he
He
would
does, yeah.
come
He
with the
does
black
exactly.
suit,
Hmm.
right? So I guess the suits were not having it. They said, "Oh, we can't have Superman come back with a black suit. Are you kidding me? He has to have his classic suit." So I really like, and I know the fans really like that he came back like this because I know that was one of the criticisms. Even though it wasn't a big criticism, it still was.
Hmm. It was just like that creative control that we talked about before. Like Zach wants to make this as comic book accurate as possible,
Hmm.
and why not let him? You know what I mean? So I don't see it personally as a fan, but the suits have the reasons, their motives. But
Yeah.
yeah, here's another one. The color and the tone. On the left, this darker tone. We referred to it before. This Zack Snyder tone, where it's not that flashy colors, and it's just dark. It's just ominous. And then on the right, we have like this red haze, this all these filters that are applied now, and I don't know. It just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as dark. It doesn't feel as serious.
Right. Yeah. And then there was a lot going down in this whole scene, this whole section where there was like these roots coming out, and then there was like that Russian family or whatnot. I've seen just like from conversations on that app that Zach posts that they were asking him about. He was like, "What Russian family? Like, I don't know what you're talking about."
Mm-hmm.
So the Flash kind of did his little like, "Hey," and
Yeah.
whatnot. So there was a lot of that going on. And then with this right here, as you can see, my man Batfleck, what we were talking about with those colors in the poster, it looks like on the right we see, he had that black and gray suit, but it looks like they color corrected it over here in Justice League
Mm-hmm.
so that he would have that more blue suit, more
Yeah.
colorful. And then a new musical score as well. He was working with this guy, Tom. I guess his name is XL Junkie or Junkie XL or something. But he made a whole new music score for this, and hopefully it's legit and it sounds good because what Joss Whedon had did was when he took over, he just took a bunch of Danny Elfman's like rehashed stuff and put it in there. So it wasn't even original
Yeah.
um, music. He just kind of was like, ah, well, this sounds good. This sounds good. We'll throw it in. There's almost like throwaway, I
Yeah,
guess.
like some samples
Um,
or something. Yeah.
and I felt it, man. Which kind of sucked because as I was watching the movie, it was like legit action was going down,
Mhm.
but the music was kind of right. It
Yeah.
didn't have that epicness
It
to it
didn't,
that
yeah,
I
it
would
didn't match
expect.
that. It didn't match that intensity and that intensity.
Yeah, specifically with Batman in the Batmobile when he had like was doing the drift and then he
Hmm.
came around with the gun and was like and then I was like, I mean, he's lighting up these bugs right now.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just chilling, eating my
Yeah.
popcorn.
Exactly. Yeah. I
So,
should be like at the edge of my seat, ready to run
yeah,
through a wall. And I was just, yeah, I feel you.
right. So then, I mean, the film's bad guy, right?
Hmm.
Steppenwolf, as we talked about before, that's the CGI we got on the left, and then on the right is, I mean, just night and day.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that if you have these two guys right here, if they squared up, the guy on the right is washing this dude on the left. Just
Oh,
gonna,
it's a mismatch.
yeah, he's gonna drag him. And like I said before, like the guy on the left, he looks like some dude in some armor. He looks like, just some Joe that bought some you bought some V-Bucks and bought some skin, you know what I mean? On some
There's
video.
nothing. Yeah, there's nothing scary about him.
Yeah, and the guy on the right looks like, yeah, an alien from another planet that's a warrior with these
Yeah,
spikes coming out.
and
And
I
you can't
think
even
that
touch
was
him.
the point.
You can't even touch this guy on the right.
Oh yeah, with the armor with the spikes coming out, I saw a clip of he had a bunch of arrows in him, and then the armor just like cut him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the fact that Justice um, Steppenwolf wasn't scary, I think that was the point, right? I think that was one of the decisions by the suits. They said, "Hey, this guy over here is too scary. We have to
Yeah.
put it over here because we got to sell toys to the kids."
Yeah.
And then here's just another example of that. I mean,
Hmm.
it just looks way better.
Yeah, like the nose. Like I feel like his features, Steppenwolf's features are just too human-like.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And then we got the nightmare scenario. Walk
mhm.
us through this.
Yeah, so we first got introduced into this with Batman versus Superman. I feel like when they first dropped that, people were in the theaters, they were kind of just like confused, like, "Yo, what's going on?" This Batman's wearing a trench coat and he's toting a gun. He's strapped now. So a lot of people were confused. They didn't know what was going on. You and I and other fans of the comic book, we kind of had an idea of like what was happening. So now in this film, they're gonna dive a little bit deeper into what is going on with this nightmare sequence, and we're seeing some new characters, specifically Batman's villains. We got Joker, Clown Prince of Crime, and then we got Deathstroke, um, the deadliest assassin on the planet. And now they're teaming up with Batman. So like, what's going on? What is it that's going to happen? And like I said before, we kind of have an idea of this scenario, and they kind of hinted at it before in the Batman vs Superman, where Superman's a bad guy. Superman's angry about something, he's upset about something, and now it's like the world has ended, and Batman has to do what has to be done, which I guess includes toting a gun, at this
Yeah,
point,
right.
just to save the world. So another thing that we see is during that segment in Batman vs Superman, he has another kind of like flashback or another nightmare, where the Flash kind of like approaches him and he's wearing this same suit. So
Yeah.
now we know that something at this then this nightmare sequence is going to transition into that scene that we've already gotten 4 years ago now at this point, for 6 years ago at this point, really. And now they're kind of going to answer some of those questions that we have.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people were like, what was that? I don't understand it. And now that'll kind of answer that a little bit.
Hmm.
Right. So hopefully we get some answers on that and see, just really what's going on. And that's another thing about DC Comics is that they're pretty big on Elseworlds.
Hmm.
Right. So what the Elseworlds is like something's going on. It's like an alternate timeline, alternate reality. Where bad stuff happened
Hmm.
and someone's got to go and it looked like what we saw was Flash coming back in time and barely getting there, saying, "Am I too soon?"
Yeah, just kind of like peeking in, just being like, okay.
Yeah, and then his whole thing opened up like that. So I'm interested to see what's going on here.
Hmm.
And then we got new Bat toys,
Yeah.
right? With
Hmm.
this tank. He had some other features as well. I'm interested to see what's going on with Batman.
Yeah, especially because in the original Justice League, he had his toys then too. So he comes out and he even had that conversation when he first met the Flash. How Flash was just like, yeah, so what's your power? And he's like, oh, I'm rich. Like even though they made that joke and we talked about how the original Justice League had too many jokes. That one was kind of appropriate because we know that Batman is known for his gadgets and his toys. And so we had like this crawler in the last one, and then we had like this carrier that he pretty much used to fly the entire Justice League over to fight Steppenwolf in the last movie, and then now we get this tank. Um, so yeah, Batman's showing up. He's bringing all his toys, and I love the fact that Zack Snyder he knows he's just using this everything that each of these superheroes has at their expense. He's throwing into this movie, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this Bat tank right here is just gonna be him in his in his Bat cave, just kind of like looking at it, or if they're even gonna use it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, hopefully, but I'm wondering if maybe it's just like when he looked at Robin's dead Robin's suit,
Yeah, how he kind of
right?
keeps it.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of like it just shows it, right? So who knows what's going down with this, but I definitely think highlighting Batman is it's gonna be done better, especially since like Batman Superman, people can say what they want about Batfleck, but with that warehouse scene, we saw arguably the best Batman scene ever in
Ever.
cinema.
Yeah. See him using his gadgets, his hand-to-hand combat,
Oh, it's
his
nuts,
his
intense.
ruthlessness, his aggressiveness that comes out because we know we've seen, in this Dark Knight trilogy, we saw that the fight sequences were nice. They were dope. They were really choreographed. But Batman really he wasn't really aggressive like we really
Hmm.
wanted to see. And so in this Batfleck, that transition or that scene that we saw in the warehouse where he felt almost bad for those bad guys because the way
Yeah, he was breaking their arms and stuff, and
yeah,
like
exactly,
stabbing
stabbing
them.
and
Yeah, the
stuff.
one guy got blown up with a grenade.
Yeah,
The one guy got hit in the head with a crate.
yeah,
Yeah, like that was bad. But
yeah.
one more thing I'll mention about Batman is just kind of not really a redemption in this movie, but when you look at Batman versus Superman, the whole like building of this different type of Batman was him being in Gotham for 20 years, him having seen everything, basically over it, right? He's gone almost like to the dark side where he's killing people, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
care about that. He wants to kill Superman. And then we go from that to him joking around.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, it was just a little too much of a jump on Batman for
Mm-hmm.
me. And then we got my man Barry Allen, right? What's going on here?
Yeah, is this like his introduction into the Speed Force? Because we know, for those of you that don't know, the Flash, he isn't only a speedster, but he is able to tap into this realm called the Speed Force, where pretty much all time is connected in at once.
Hmm.
So he could tap into this and see not only everything that's not has points to everything that's going on, but can tap into alternate realities, um, and pretty much alter timelines at his will, but it's something that is highlighted very rarely that we've seen so far in this DC universe. We kind of see it once, like they sprinkle it in Batman vs Superman, like we talked about before. But how did he do it? They never explained like how was the Flash popping up like that. We don't know. So now they're going to start, diving into the Speed Force and how this changes the DC universe as a whole. Because now that they've introduced this, um, pretty much anything is possible for the DC executives and for the writers over at Warner Brothers. Like, what can we do now? We've introduced this Speed Force.
Yeah, really anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the most simplest way to describe the Speed Force is it's kind of essentially like the fabric of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he can like tap into it and do that kind of stuff like you described. But I think before we definitely after this movie we'll have to get into what's the future of the DC universe because Um, I've been hearing a lot of rumors with the Flash movie, which
Hmm.
that's going to deserve its own episode, right?
Hmm.
Once we hear some more news on that, but it's definitely just going to also be the fan reaction from this movie as
Hmm.
well, right? But before we get into that, we got one other thing.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter,
Mhm.
who has been rumored to have been in this for a while, and then Zack Snyder's on this app Vero, and before Zack the release the release the Snyder Cut hashtag really started taking off, Zack started like sprinkling off some sketches that he had, some like
Yeah,
scripts, some
storyboard little sketches, right?
yeah, some like storyboard sketches that he had plans for his movie. And one of the ones that he dropped was Martian Manhunter, and I felt like that didn't even get the response that it was warranted, because I was just like, this guy Martian Manhunter, who is a huge player in the Justice League and this whole universe, was there the whole time, has been there like all along, and so now he's finally going to get introduced. So like, another thing, like Zach had no problem introducing these characters from the jump. Like if we want to go all the way back to like Man of Steel, we see the Easter eggs for like Hal Jordan, we see the Easter eggs for LexCorp and all that stuff. So we know that we're going to get these people further down the line. Then in Batman vs Superman, they're just like, yo, bump it. Here you go. Here's the Flash. Here's Aquaman. Here's Cyborg. So we're just like, okay, so there is no problem for them to introduce. They had no issue introducing these characters to us before. So now I'm just like, oh, bring them on. Now we're getting Martian Manhunter. I think
Yeah,
it's pretty easy. And I mean, he's not the only one. Like we said before, we're also going to get Deathstroke. We're also going to get Joker. So,
it feels like we're getting a lot of people, and especially with something that's this crazy of an event,
mhm.
like it's
Yeah,
not like
that's why Zach said to the suits before. He was just like, "Yo, I'm not doing it unless I can, get the funding that I need, unless I can get that the visual effects added like I needed to.
mhm,
Because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do this right."
yeah, literally. So another thing is that you brought up was the Fortress of Solitude. Is are we going to see a Fortress of Solitude? Is this a Fortress of Solitude? Is it just a scout ship? What do you think?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that when Superman, it looks like at this point Superman is clothed to some extent. So he's probably had some time to like recollect what is even happening, and he comes back, and so now he's taking a stroll through here. I think that yeah, this is going to be his home base. As you can see in the image here, we have some suits in the background. He's probably going to have access to other things besides these suits that where he can come here and like recollect or think about
Talk to
what
Jor-El
exactly. So
somehow.
yeah, I think that this is like his fortress of solitude. I think after everything that's happened, um, like you said, these movies like they came out so quickly. Like we see that Batman had or Superman had this crazy fight with Zod in Metropolis, and then a Batman vs Superman. As all this is going down, that ship is just sitting there in the middle of Metropolis.
Hanging out.
And then even in the last Justice League movie, it's still sitting there. So maybe Superman's just like, you know what, this is mine. This scout ship landed here thousands of years ago, but it's the only piece of Krypton that's left, and I'm Kryptonian. This is mine. So what if he picks it up and flies it back over to like the Arctic Circle and kind of just plants it there, or does he keep
Yeah.
it there, keep his
I
headquarters, and
mean, do the city a favor, right?
yeah, right, clean up a little bit, clean up your mess like a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because you saw what happened. They had to I mean, after Batman versus Superman, they just built a base around it.
Hmm.
They're like, we don't know what to do with this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's there now. So
Is
yeah, I mean,
he
maybe he
gonna
picks it
keep it
up.
there? Is that gonna be like his Fortress of Solitude? His headquarters is gonna be in the heart of Metropolis, so he's right
Yeah,
there next to the danger, or is he gonna
right.
move it? Are they gonna be cool with him coming in and out? Like,
Yeah, I just saw Clark Kent walking in there. What's going
yeah,
on?
like yo, do you see that guy?
And then yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything. So I guess to wrap up, what other thoughts do you have, and what theories do you have for the movie?
So I think that with everything that's going on, first and foremost, I think that based off of the response that we get tomorrow morning when this movie releases, and everybody that's tuning in, everybody that signs up for HBO Max, and the money that is made off of this movie really dictates if we're going to see a second one or third one. Because I'm starting to see rumors pop up that there's conversations being had about the success of this, and then ultimately leading into more movies, expanding this Snyder cut, restoring the Snyderverse, as you could say. So that's one thing. So I'm hoping that it goes breaks records, goes swimmingly, and we're able to get more of this. Just as a fan, I would love to see that. Now, um, something that a lot of people don't talk about, like there's a lot of reshoots. There was only 30 minutes of actual footage that was actually used. We could be walking into a completely different movie than we did before, and we're kind of expecting it to follow the same timeline or the same storyline. It could be the same. We could see a lot of different things that could be, set things up for other movies in the future. Could leave us out on cliffhangers. We don't know. We'll just have to check it out for tomorrow. um but one thing that I know is, I think that my prediction is we're going to get some cliffhangers that I think Zach is smart enough to know, like, hey, if I leave this out there, they've already done it once. The fans can come back again. And even if it doesn't hit the numbers that it needs to, if somebody wants to see it, the fans, we've done it before. We can do it again. We can restore this Snyderverse.
Yeah, exactly. Right,
Mhm.
because I mean, just the original Justice League was in 2017. So what's that? Almost 4 years, three and some change.
Mhm.
I mean, we see like reboots quicker than that, right?
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, people are already doing hashtag restore the Snyderverse. So we could see that definitely happening, definitely being a thing. And then hold on. And then yeah, other than that, I think we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, Zach, what he said was this movie is going to blow. My goal is to make this movie blow that other version out of existence.
Mhm.
Right? So I don't want to get too excited because obviously I am.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like, "Oh my goodness," because it could just be kind of the same movie,
Mhm.
you know, but a lot more stuff added to it.
Yeah.
So I think if I set the bar maybe a little bit lower, right,
Mhm.
it'll be more epic.
Mhm.
So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. And one thing that we've talked about before, and it's kind of sad to see, but with Batman versus Superman, for me, that's one of the best comic book movies in the world, like I've ever seen. And the differences that you see in the extended version, the director's cut of that one, and the theatrical version, the one that was released, it's like a lot. Even though it was just like 30 minutes, that 30 minutes really explained a lot. Really, like it, he took the time to like dive in and build those characters up even more. So the fact that we're getting this out is, it leads me to believe that, it's gonna get a lot more explanation. I feel like it's not gonna feel as rushed as it did before. And another thing that I love about the DC universe is that we kind of get the point of view, and Zach will always give us a point of view from what's happening on the ground, from like the average Joe, the civilians. We're seeing this destruction of Metropolis. We're seeing this monster Doomsday come out and just whoop on these superheroes. And he always kind of like touches into like what's happening on the ground. He gives us those newscasts and stuff like that. So I think that what we're gonna see, this universe that we're gonna see in the Snyder Cut, is gonna be a lot different than what it is that we got in the original version.
Yeah, it's just gonna have that extra layer or layers of depth
Mm-hmm.
to it
Yeah.
because, like you mentioned in the Batman Superman Ultimate Edition, um, even though it wasn't really that different, there was just added scenes that really made it clear. Like, okay, Clark doesn't like Batman,
Mm-hmm.
Bruce doesn't like Superman,
Mm-hmm.
Lex is behind everything,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how it really wove it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if where anyone was confused before, if you see that, and then there was just parts where it just made it more epic,
Yeah.
right?
Like the most epic Batman drop down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff you would see like in the Arkham video games where you guys hit on the gargoyle and then drop down and snatch somebody up real quick. We got to see that. So I'm just like, all right, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the movie is literally twice as long as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one they made it a point to make it a runtime of 2 hours, and I see the ad for it where it'll be like rent this movie, and it's literally 20000, like 2 hours. This one is a runtime of like 4 hours and 3 minutes.
Yep.
4 hours of Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we gotta see some stuff. I guess you have anything out before I'm gonna close out with my official prediction.
So official prediction, looking further down the line. I think that what Zach is doing now, introducing these characters, I think he's introducing these characters for a reason. I think that he has plans for Joker. I think he has plans for Deathstroke, plans for Lex Luthor and all of them. I think that the Justice League was the first installment, but what I think is coming is the Injustice League, the Injustice Society.
Yeah. So the Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom, baby.
So I agree with that. It really just comes down to if they're going to restore the Snyderverse,
Mhm.
right? So I mean, I don't see. I mean, I feel like at this point with this cult following, it would almost be if they didn't, because Warner Brothers tried to come out because I guess they're still kind of salty and say that the theatrical version is canon,
Mhm.
right? Like that's the real version that goes along with the timeline.
Mhm.
And then Ray Fisher, Cyborg actor, came out and he said, "Yeah, what the fans say is canon is canon."
Yeah.
Right. So whatever the fans want,
Mhm.
right? And I mean that's how we even got to this was it's because of what the fans want. So if the fans say, "Hey, this was way better. This is the version that we want."
Mhm.
It's got to be a wake up call for the suits. The suits
Mhm.
got to lose their egos and say, "Hey guys, Sonic was ugly. We have to make him
Mhm.
prettier again." And that's what they got to do with this.
Yeah.
So,
I think like if if this is the outcome from the fans banding together, like how is this going to change movies moving forward? You know what I mean? So it's like, what if Warner Brothers decides like, hey, it wasn't enough, and the fans like, you know what, it is. You know what I mean? And we just do this all over again. We raise a whole bunch of money for Zach to continue making this movie. Or is Warner Brothers going to ignore that and just be like, okay, like regardless of what we think, the fans want this movie. We have to keep giving them the fans what they want.
it's I mean that's where the money's at. So,
Exactly.
it just depends. Well, I guess we'll just see what happens. But my official prediction, right? Obviously, Martian Manhunter is going to come in. I don't know what's happening with that. From the trailers, I'm seeing some sort of like explosion in the world. I don't know if that's maybe Cyborg. Like, I think Cyborg's going to have a lot of visions,
Mhm.
right? And be able to see because that's the way it was in the comic book. He was able because he was made of the mother boxes and made from that tech. He's able to see glimpses of that world. So he'll be kind of the eyes, right?
Mhm.
And then on top of that, I saw something where Flash was, obviously Flash was running in there, but I saw something where he was running to Cyborg and it almost looked like Cyborg was getting pieced together. I'm
Yeah.
thinking maybe there's a scene where everything, like they lose and Flash and the world blows up or something, and Flash runs back in time to save it right
Mhm.
there. I also saw a clip of Superman like kind of on his knees and with somebody having his like
Yeah.
hand on him. I think they kill Lois.
Yeah.
I think they kill Lois because that's where Flash was like, "It's Lois. She's
Yeah.
the
She's the
key."
key. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. I might be wrong, and if I'm right, who knows? You
Hmm.
know, I'll just, maybe they kill Lois. Also, I think we're gonna see Green Lantern.
Yeah. I
I think
think
we're
that.
gonna see Green Lantern because there was some guy I forget what his name is. There was some actor. He's like some pretty boy, white boy, with like literally fits the description, the police description of Hal Jordan,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Yeah, I shot like 30 minutes of footage."
I mean, like, for who? You know?
Yeah, for
That's
what? Who are
who. Yeah.
who?
Yeah.
Right? Who is
Okay.
this guy? Whose
Yeah.
man's is that? So,
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, they already have the old Green Lantern in there, so why not?
Hmm.
So, we'll see what happens, but that's my official prediction. Obviously, listen, as of right now, now that it's real, it's happening, we're there. As long as the we don't get hit by an asteroid by tomorrow morning, we will see the Snyder cut tomorrow. I'm gonna find my zen, bring my excitement back down to the level of low expectations
Hmm.
to Justice League level and be
Hmm.
prepared to possibly be blown out of the water.
Yeah. This is my plan: is to get so excited for Falcon Winter Soldier that I forget in the next
That
couple
Justice
hours.
League's even a thing.
Yeah, that everything exists. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, all right. I guess we'll go just check out the movie. Everyone else, check out the movie. Let us know what you thought of it. Let us know what you think of it. Let us know how excited you are about it.
Mhm.
What your theories are, what you think's going to happen, who's going to die, who's going to live. Green Lantern, no Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter. What's going on? Dark Side?
People done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reverse Flash. What's happening? So let us know what you think. Comment below, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will be coming back. Probably next week because we're gonna give everyone some time over the weekend. It is a 4-hour movie, so
Mhm.
you got to take your time to watch it, whatnot, digest it, and then we'll come back maybe Monday or Tuesday and really break down what we saw and what this means for the future of DC. All right, until then, guys, peace.
Peace.